Original music for this podcast has been provided by Ashiko Music Group 1 at gmail.com. Ashiko Music Group 1 at gmail.com.
Welcome to your Expat Expert podcast, where we share ways to study, volunteer, work, or retire abroad. Embrace this journey because your new life is about to begin. Today on the show, we have Tim, the online teacher dude. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Tiffany.
Now, Tim, I have been following your YouTube channel for a couple of years now, and it's an amazing resource for finding online teacher opportunities and more. So I was wondering if you can share your journey on how your international journey began.
Sure. I started teaching in Canada, and then I always had the travel bug and really was interested in the possibility of teaching overseas. And a lady at my school had just come back from China, and I just grabbed her and said, tell me everything you know about teaching abroad. And she got me connected with a company that sent me to Beijing. So I taught there for 3 years. It was the best 3 years of my life. It was so much fun. And then I didn't want to go back, even though my contracted, job in Canada was kept for me with all the benefits and everything. I decided to leave that and take up another teaching opportunity at an international school in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And long story short, I really enjoyed it, but I knew that there were ways of making an income that would allow more flexibility. And so I decided to take a year off. I tried all kinds of weird and crazy things like being a blogger and all this kind of stuff. And then I found online teaching. So then I thought, geez, I could teach ESL online. It was really popular, 5 years ago in the good old days of companies like VIP Kid.
Right.
And so I taught with them. Actually, I had some students from China that I was sort of teaching online all those years on a very small, tiny scale. So I knew that I could do it, and I knew that I enjoyed it. So I thought, I'll give this online teaching company thing a shot. And I taught with VIP Kid up until early this year, so like probably 4 years. And I had a wide variety of other companies that I dabbled in and things like that. So yeah, it's been about 5 years since I quit the international school system. And now I'm doing private, independent online teaching. So it's kind of like evolved from in the classroom to online teaching with companies, and then doing it on my own.
Okay. So currently you're teaching online, like you mentioned, on your own. But I was just wondering, how do you minimize your work permit paperwork since you're no longer teaching with the international schools?
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle bus when you're not actually, working for a company in another country.
Right.
So it was very easy. Obviously, when I was with schools and in Malaysia, I kind of had to transition to being like a full-time tourist, really, and living there. They had good visas there for 3 months, and then the pandemic hit, so that kind of solved that problem, and I was allowed to stay up until last May of 2021, which then I had 30 days to get out on my expired visa. And I came to Thailand because it was close to Malaysia. It was relatively open. I was familiar with it, and so I came here. I did lots of research on visas. There's no real easy option for it, but I found ways of getting long-term education visas, and that's what I do at the moment. So, it is difficult. It certainly isn't ideal, and it's a little bit expensive, but it's sort of not being retirement age, over 50, not having a spouse here, not working here. There's very few options.
Right. So before we go into the tips on teaching online consistently, we're going to take a break. but how can we contact you?
Sure. So I have a YouTube channel, Online Teacher Dude. Really, I'm that brand name on most social media. My website is onlineteacherdude.com, and I'm contactable there, or on Instagram at onlineteacherdude, and of course on YouTube as well. So lots of different ways, I guess, now with all the different social medias.
Right. Okay. We will be back with Tim, the Online Teacher Dude.
Hello, this is Dev from Amarpur Tailors Just Mag Tie. We have been in the business for approximately 55 years. We have been making suits for the congressmen, military, ambassadors, police officers, and many more. We ensure you get a satisfied suit with us. There may be many tailors out in town, but to get exclusive fabrics, an excellent bespoke fit, and a satisfied customer is the way we go to. Please contact on 088-463-9027 or visit my website www.amrapurtailor.com. Hope to see you soon.
Have you studied, volunteered, lived, or worked abroad? Share your international experience with us. We want to hear from you. Feel free to contact us at yourexpatexpert@gmail.com.
We are back with Tim, the Online Teacher Dude. Okay, Tim, so we discussed the international teaching journey, your international teaching journey. But what tips can you provide for those teachers thinking about teaching online?
Well, I get this question probably 30 times a week, and I think the thing that I tell teachers is, okay, so there's teachers that are teaching in maybe brick and mortar schools who want to transition to online, and I always say that it's really important to get something going first before thinking you're going to dive right in and start making the same income as you were as a teacher. Especially with companies these days, it's really difficult to make a decent wage with a company, but you certainly can build up your hours on the side of teaching, in your brick and mortar classroom if you're a teacher. So I wouldn't just quit my job right away. I would certainly do the research. I would find mentors. I would, do your due diligence to learn about the industry, and then I would, So I'm do as I say, not as I do, because I didn't do it that way. I found online teaching when it was really popular and was able to kind of jump right in and make pretty good money right away. Then there's the group of teachers that are, they're desperate for something right now. And I think I would tell them to think of your income in terms of buckets. I like to think of like the secure bucket of income that's going to pay the bills every month, and then the bucket of income that might be your side hustle, or it could be online teaching. So just like not quitting your job right away, I wouldn't rely on it right away until you have been able to build it up for a while. So I would try to, if you need to get something like a part-time job while you're working on something else, I think that's really important. So get something that's easy on the side, but while you're building up your online teaching, because it can be it's not always stable at first. And really nowadays, I would tell people to start thinking about how if they really are serious about online teaching, how they can build up their own independent online teaching business where, they create a brand online and are marketing to their ideal students and, attracting the students that they want to teach and charging what they want to charge those students. I think that's a really more sustainable way of doing it, because companies, they don't care about you at the end of the day. They just care about themselves. And why work for $10 an hour for somebody, when you can work for 4 or 5x more than that for yourself? So I would, if someone's really serious about online teaching, I would get in with a company, maybe right away. Get in with something that's going to be easy. You'll learn a lot. You'll figure out, who you want to teach and what you like about teaching, and then build your own thing on the side. that's what I would do.
Well, thank you, because there was a peak at 4 or 5 years ago. There was a peak.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, and then there was it got saturated, and it's not like it used to be at all. So
For sure, that's right. And now the Chinese market is down, so
Yes.
those companies don't exist, and that's where 95 of us were working.
Yes.
So the global platforms are just really not. They're not going to get you rich, and they're not going to help you retire tomorrow for sure. You need your own thing.
Right. So with that being said, so how do you see the future of online teaching?
Well, I think it's not going anywhere, but I think that it's becoming very, entrepreneurial. I think teachers, are starting to see how they can do it on their own. Teachers are becoming teacherpreneurs and figuring out how they can build their own businesses. I think the pandemic has really solidified that online teaching can work, and that it's something that, is out there as an option. So many students had to learn online, so it's definitely validated it as an effective way to learn. Ultimately, there's always going to be students wanting to learn English all over the world. So if you can attract the right students and be, really specific on who you want to teach, then I think there'll always be a market for your skills. I think people need to think more entrepreneurial now and get out of the, relying on a middleman or a company to do it for you.
Right. And then the other aspect that a lot of people don't think about, learning English. Not everybody wants to move to America. A lot
That's
of times
right.
They are learning English because, let's say, for example, in Asia, there's so many different languages: Korea, Korea, Mandarin,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
these different languages, and they want to learn English as a way to communicate with each other.
Exactly.
So
It's not always
necessarily-
about wanting to go to another country,
Exactly.
for sure.
Yeah. So, okay, well, I want to thank you so much for this interview, Tim. Like I said,
You're most
I
welcome.
subscribed to your YouTube channel, and I was excited
Thank you.
for the interview. So, thank you for coming on the show.
You're very welcome. Thanks so much, Tiffany.
Thank you for listening. We hope this gives you some creative ideas on how you can study, volunteer, work, or retire abroad. Shout out to my sound editor, Martin, and Ashiko Music Group. Feel free to follow us through our social media channels listed in the description below. See you next time.